Welcome to Jimbo's Underpass. Whoa, 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 hey, hey, hey! Hey folks, happy Halloween. Spooks and scares are once again in the air, and me and the boys are about to go out for a fun night of trick-or-treating. If you're wondering about the costume, I wanted to be an epic sex guy. I did make a typo, but that's fine because I'm still going to have a wonderful time tonight. Oh well, let's get this party started. Hey, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
What are you supposed to be?
Oh, I'm unemployed.
That's pretty scary. What are you?
I'm employed.
Ooh, that's scary. Also, where's Garrett at? I thought you guys were picking him up.
He's employed.
Now that is sad.
Yeah, but I'm not too pressed. Check this out. We found this cool flyer on the way. Looks like Jimbo's found a new location. We can get some sweet Halloween candy from this guy.
Listen, he's been on about this Jimbo guy, but it just sounds like he sells stuff. Why not just go to the store?
Listen, Jimbo's great. He's great. He gets good deals on Frisbees. He's also wanted for tax evasion.
Oh, now we're talking.
Hey, you got a coat?
Horror has been and will continue to be a massively important genre of media. It's easy to see why. People just love pissing themselves. And they also love horror. There's just something about it that's so enthralling. A properly crafted work with a creepy atmosphere, frightening events, and generally disturbing content can be really exciting. Maybe not exciting in the way that you get excited to hang out with your friends or go to a concert or eat your favorite food, but excited in the sense that you are engaged, you're energized, you're active, your blood is pumping, you're unable to relax or be at ease in any way. If you're a fan of horror, you'll get what I'm talking about, and if you're a big ol' wimp who doesn't like horror, you're not alone. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of horror because, well, it's scary. But I think horror media is really important and can be an interesting avenue of creative expression. And one variety of horror media that is of particular interest to me is horror video games. In a lot of ways, video games are the perfect vehicle for horror. Unlike in literature or film, you play an active part in all the creepy stuff going on. You're no longer yelling at the character to get up and stop tripping on branches. Now it's your stupid ass who needs to get up and stop tripping on branches. The interactivity provided by video games can be incredibly helpful for enhancing the fear and terror experienced by the audience. Horror games can be really effective at telling stories in a way that other forms of media can't always do. One great example of this is the vast collection of games from the ever-popular indie horror scene. The story that these games tell is a cautionary tale. Indie horror, as much as it's been an avenue for some incredibly impressive demonstrations of creativity, has also become a source of stagnation and seemingly endless demonstrations of unimaginative bandwagoning and chasing trends for attention and money. The concept of mascot horror has been pilloried as this horrific plague on the indie horror scene, overrun with laziness and unoriginality from developers just trying to make a quick buck rather than make something they actually care about. And while it's hard to always assess the true motives of developers, it's definitely true that there are a lot of mascot horror games. Though the quality of each game varies, part of what prompted me to even talk about these things in the first place is just the fact that there are so damn many of them. It feels like every month there's some new viral indie horror game that uses kid-friendly concepts and themes of childhood nostalgia, but makes them evil and has an easily recognizable mascot character to plaster all over YouTube thumbnails and has a mountain of hidden lore to watch theory videos about. These games may or may not be good or bad, but the sheer abundance of them makes the subgenre of mascot horror as a whole feel kind of bland. It undermines a lot of what makes these indie horror games. A lot of the appeal of indie games comes from them being unique and original and subversive in some way. These games aren't that, and as a result, they've started to lose some of their luster. But how did we get here? How did indie horror go from being a blossoming, uncharted frontier of gaming to a pejorative term indicating malaise and stagnation? Well, to answer that, we have to take a dive into what it was like to be a prepubescent gamer in the early 2010s. I was one such gamer back in the day, and I'm in college now, so hopefully that makes someone out there feel old. It was a pretty magical time, because you know what? I was cringe, but I was happy. So picture this. 2013. You're in your early days of middle school, and the only thing you really have to worry about is what Capri Sun your mom packed you for lunch. See, learning fractions kinda blows, but it sure beats college where you learn about the rapid vanishing of time and your utter futility to stop it. Now let's say you're also a gamer, because you're 11 and you actually have free time. Video games are a lot of fun, and the rising popularity of video game related content on YouTube and elsewhere at this time made it so much easier for people to share that fun with others. Probably the best example of this is the Let's Play. Watching how people play games and how they react to them can be really entertaining, and in some cases it can be a good way to vicariously experience the game without actually playing it. Especially the games that you're just too much of a bitch to play. Horror game Let's Plays were, and still are, incredibly popular. In fact, I'd argue that they're one of the areas where the Let's Play as a thing shines the most. It lets you experience a lot of the tension and excitement of the horror experience without being the bozo who does the dirty work. It can still be pretty scary to watch, but you don't have to work up the willpower to keep playing when you know you're just gonna get jump scared and attacked by scary monsters. You're safe and sound behind your computer screen while you watch someone else get jump scared and attacked by the scary monsters, and you get to enjoy their reactions as they grace your ears with panicked stammering and screams of terror. It also allows you to sort of experience the horror with somebody, which I think makes the horror more palatable and overall more fun. From my estimation, horror Let's Plays really took off in the early 2010s. Tons of Let's Play channels really started to hit it big around this time, and many of them did so due to the success of their horror content. And some of the most prominent horror games played by these early pioneers were Outlast and Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Basically, I'm not super well versed in these games, but they at least deserve a mention, so I'll just say, they are both survival horror games released in the early 2010s, Amnesia in 2010 and Outlast in 2013, where you have to fumble around in the dark and hide from various scary monsters in some labyrinthine hell zone that you're trapped in. You have no means of defending yourself, so the gameplay is primarily stealth-based, which I can only imagine really adds to the tension and fear that you experience while playing. Both games were met with critical acclaim and were wildly popular in their time. But they're not mascot horror games, and they're definitely not indicative of some sort of general pattern of decline in the indie horror scene. Mascot horror games, aside from having, well, you know, mascots, are a specific sort of commercial cultural phenomenon. For the most part, I'd say they're characterized by a general, wide-reaching fascination and almost obsession throughout internet culture. Let's Plays, of course, as well as things like theories, songs, and various other fan-made content surrounding the game. It's hard to come up with a precise, universal definition for them, as it's much more about vibes and cultural trends than specific qualities of every single game, but basically, I know one when I see one. And one such game that I'd argue is the great-granddaddy of them all is Slender the 8 Pages. First of all, quick warning, anyone out there named Soul, run while you still can. But anyway, Slender the 8 Pages is one of the earliest viral Let's Play horror sensations that I feel shares a lot of qualities with mascot horror games that would come after it. Number 1, character design. Slender Man has an incredibly simple yet iconic design, one that can be easily recreated through fan art, cosplay, probably porn. It's so easily replicable and recognizable, which makes it a lot easier for the character to spread across the internet and gain relevance. Number 2, internet virality. Let's Plays and other internet content related to Slender were huge back in the day, and I'd bet a lot more people watched Let's Plays of Slender than actually played it. It was fun and exciting to watch other people's reactions to it, which allowed it to catch on big time in internet culture. Number 3, lore. Now, in this particular case, I don't think Slender as a game going viral had anything to do with its lore, especially because the game itself is actually pretty lacking in the lore department, and most of the material comes from pre-existing outside information about the character Slender Man. But I'd argue it's still a helpful example of how lore and mystery surrounding an internet thing can help it gain popularity. Slender Man is, in a lot of ways, like a piece of modern folklore. The character thrives on the lore and urban legends that people create for it. The original canon information from its original images is just clear enough to get what the character's deal is, while being just vague enough to let people with a lot of imagination go absolutely wild with it. Spooky lore around a simple yet mysterious premise is prime real estate for tons of internet discussion, fan theories, and fan-made content revolving around both the game Slender and the character in general. Slender has some key differences from most other mascot horror games that would come after it. The character of Slender Man, though a central element of the game, has an identity of its own that has persisted in internet culture before and after the heyday of Slender the 8 Pages. And Slender didn't become an all-consuming commercial phenomenon in the same way that, well, other games have a link to buy merch on their title screen, but I think through the combination of Slender the game and Slender Man the character, we can observe a number of important elements that would become foundational parts of various mascot horror sensations later down the line.
You know, you guys promised Jimbo and did not deliver.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's off fighting the IRS or something.
Well, the IRS doesn't work on Halloween, so maybe he just got bored and left.
Rats! If only we'd come here sooner.
Well, I don't know. This is a nice underpass, and with all the foot traffic, I don't think you'd leave.
Well, he did.
Oh, listen, I mean, something bad could have happened. Like, what if something forced him to leave?
Well, I don't know, how could that happen? Like, what do you think? I'm just gonna, like, find his dead body sitting around? He's right behind me, isn't he?